Hell yes. I'd be like, yo, Michael. Swap with me, Michael.
It became personal with me.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Brain Blaze. This one written by Danny. Thank you, Danny. And it's called The Most Insane Prices Paid for Weird Celebrity Memorabilia. I feel like I'm the sort of person that would buy that. A few years ago, I saw there were the guns for sale from Face Off, like the resin guns from Face Off for sale for like $8,000 American. And I was like, I regret not buying those because I know $8,000 is a lot of money, but also you'd own the guns from Face Off, which is, I mean, I'm sure there's many of them, but there's probably not that many of them. And they came in like a lucite case, and I'd be like, that'd be awesome to own. What's the most you'd ever pay for a single precious stone? The only precious rocks that I buy, Daddy, are crack rocks. So they're cheap, but amazing. Don't do crack.
Peanut butter and crap thing.
$25,000 seems a bit pricey for a single stone measuring less than 4 millimeters in diameter. Jesus Christ, that's tiny. But then I'm not the best judge of this kind of thing, as my wife's engagement ring fell out of a Christmas cracker. I get the feeling, and I don't know why I know this, but I think it's a kidney stone, possibly from William Shatner. I don't know why I know that.
Unagi.
Now, just before we continue with today's video, let me tell you about the legends over at Bespoke Post who have sponsored today's video. Look, have you ever wished you could receive a monthly surprise filled with top-notch goods? You have? Well, good news. Bespoke Post. They are the ultimate membership club that brings you a box of awesome every month, and it's free to join. You can skip a month or cancel any time, so no like surprise credit card charges. Oh, what's this? Oh, no, I didn't want this one. Not with Bespoke Post. It's flexible, it's nice, it's friendly. Now, what's cool about Bespoke Post is that 90% of the products come from small brands, many of which are based in the United States. It's always nice to support a small business rather than letting Jeff keep all of the money. Bloody Jeff, greedy bastard. So let me tell you how it works. Every month, Bespoke Post curates these incredible boxes filled with all sorts of goodies based on a preference quiz that you fill out. You've got outdoor gear, barware, home and kitchen goods, clothing, even live oysters. Now get this, each box of awesome has around $70 worth of goods inside, but costs you only a fraction of the value. And here's the best part, before your box is shipped, you get to preview what's inside. That way, you can decide if you want to keep it, swap it for a different box, or even just skip the month entirely. No getting stuff you don't want, which is nice, because there's nothing worse than shit that sits around in your cupboard for a year and then you finally throw it away. That wasn't in the talking points, that was a Simon comment. Now let me tell you about a couple of boxes that I've been loving. First up, there's the Weekender box. This is perfect for those of you who love spontaneous getaways, and who doesn't love that? I don't know, extremely organized people. If my wife was suddenly like, we're going away for the weekend, I'd be like, what? I've got plans. Like, things are going on. We can't just, what are you talking? What about the kids? Crafted by Line of Trade, this heirloom level carryall is built with thick canvas, reinforced frame, and quality leather handles. Another awesome box is the Timeless box. It's filled with go-to gear that'll stand the test of time. You can get a vintage-inspired baseball cap, an heirloom quality Explorer flask, a multi-tool pocket knife, a leather-scented candle. That's a thing? Jesus. That's going to smell nice. I love the smell. I love the smell. Like cars. When you sit inside it. It just smells expensive, doesn't it? And a hot honey seasoning infused with new Belgium fat tire ale. Okie dokie. So here's the deal. Get 20% off your first box of awesome by just clicking the link in the description below and entering the checkout code BLAZE20 at bespokepost.com/blaze20. Trust me, you won't regret it. Thanks to Bespoke Post for sponsoring. And now back to today's video. I splashed out a bit more on the actual wedding ring, but you'd need to shave a few noughts off that figure. Perhaps this small $25,000 stone was particularly precious, although the previous owner who first offered it up for sale in 2006 might not agree with that. God damn, I've got such a big brain sometimes. His name was William Shatner, and he was more than happy to get rid of it. The stone in question was a kidney stone. That it just proudly passed. I don't really want to dwell on the details of passing a kidney stone. Apparently, it's one of the most severe pains a human being can ever experience, and I'm just having to cross my legs thinking about it. I don't really know how painful it would be, because it's just something I can't imagine. My mother-in-law had kidney stones, and she said it was more painful than giving birth. And she has 2 children. Well, she has at least 1 child because I'm married to her daughter, so that makes sense. But like, she said it was worse than giving birth, which is like, holy shit, I don't want to experience that. Drink plenty of fluids, like black coffee, does that count? But Shatner seemed quite impressed by the size of it and began pondering how much money you could raise for charity by selling a piece of the former captain of the Starship Enterprise. To be honest, I think he was a bit disappointed. The online casino GoldenPalace.com runs a Museum of Oddities tour, which displays fascinating exhibits like Celine Dion's shoe, a ghost in a bag, and a grilled cheese sandwich containing the face of the Virgin Mary. What the f*** is a ghost in a bag? Figuring that Captain Kirk's kidney stone would make a thrilling addition to their treasure trove of the strange, they initially offered him $15,000 for it. Shatner declined, pointing out that Star Trek tunics have sold for over $100,000 in the past, but he could only get Golden Palace to raise their offer to $25,000 before he eventually agreed to sell. The money was donated to a housing charity, so Shatner's stone helped to build the foundation of new affordable housing. Good for you, William Shatner. I like William Shatner. I never saw I've seen episodes of the original Star Trek and didn't really like it. But one of my favorite shows is Boston Legal. And one of my favorite characters on that show is, of course, Denny Crane, portrayed by William Shatner. I think he won many Emmys for that. It's a brilliant show if you haven't seen it.
Oh, wow. I can't believe this.
But it's obviously not the only time that a seemingly ordinary item has fetched a vastly overinflated price because of a celebrity connection. It's possible that some of these buyers are making a shrewd investment for the future by purchasing a slice of history which can only increase in value. Other buyers just enjoy the thrill of adding an incredibly rare item to their collection which has been worn or touched or passed through by their heroes. Yeah. I was like, I haven't done it in a lot because it turns out it's a big hassle. But back in the day, before I had the teleprompter, I'd do this channel and I'd read it off paper scripts and I'd sell them. I think I'd sell them for like $100 each and it would all go to charity. But it was a real hassle to do. I had an idea the other day, and tell me if this is a good idea or not. And I'm worried that it's going to eat up all my time. But I don't want to do Cameo because I don't need the money. But what I was thinking could be cool is to do a Cameo kind of thing, but just give all the money to charity. So you'd, like what I did with the scripts, because I don't want to, like, I always feel like if you should make the money direct to the charity when possible, because otherwise there's, it can be messy. And even people who are doing like super honest things, I've seen them in the past, like be accused of on YouTube where it's like, oh yeah, but did you really give that money to charities? I always thought just give the money direct to charity, right? I was thinking it'd be cool. There's a charity I like. Tell me if this is a good idea or it's a terrible idea. I don't even know if I'll actually do this. But I'd do like 1-minute cameos. All you got to do is like donate to this charity that I like and then send me the receipt that you donated and then I'll do you like a 1-minute like happy birthday to your mates or whatever. I don't know. That seems like it could be good. Because I'm not really motivated to do Cameo otherwise but people often ask me about it. Is that a good idea? Is that a shit idea? Let me know. I might not do it anyway, but let me know.
So just do it! Make your dreams come true!
And some buyers are clearly just behaving in a highly illogical manner. We'll return to the crazier examples of celebrity memorabilia later in the video, but let's begin with some slightly more rational, if wildly expensive deals that have gone down in the auction house as we boldly go where no kidney stone has gone before. Smells like mean spirits. It's better just not to mention the 1986 FIFA World Cup in Mexico to an English soccer fan. I have no idea. Like, one of the questions as a child in the UK, or as an adult, it'd be like, oh, what team do you support? Referring to football, because it's such a pervasive pastime. And I always like, I don't know, I don't watch football. I never have, I never will. I can't rule out that I never will. I just don't find it particularly interesting. It's like, there can be a sport. It's a sport where there can be no points. It's like, oh, well, how was the football match? 0-0. It's an exciting match, 0-0. Nobody scored. Like, that doesn't sound entertaining to me. When I was at university, my mates were into football, and one afternoon it was like, oh yeah, we're going to go to, I want to say the pub was called Watch Mojo, but it's not. That's a YouTube channel. I think it was just called Mojo's or something. Mojo's? I can't remember. Anyway, and they were like, yeah, we're going to go and watch this in the university pub. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to come along and it's the afternoon. Let's have a few beers. Hey! And everyone in this pub was going absolutely mental over this game. This must have been around 2006. And it was some football game where there were like 12 goals or something, which apparently is unheard of. And everyone was like, this is the most exciting thing ever. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I guess it's fine. People are scoring goals. But illustrative to say, I have no idea what happened in the 1986 FIFA World Cup in Mexico. This was the one in which England got knocked out in the quarterfinals by Argentina under quite scandalous circumstances. Sure, the second goal from Argentina captain Diego Maradona was quite sensational and is often dubbed the goal of the century. But his first goal was a stinking rotten foul as it bounced off his hand into the net, a point which was missed by the referee and the napping linesman. My understanding is with football, is they don't have like Hawkeye, like in tennis. So it's like what the referee says goes. And I'm like, wait, he's just one man on the pitch. Why aren't you just using cameras, you idiots? Just do it like tennis. And people would be like, challenge. And then they get a definitive answer from Hawkeye. Boom. He later claimed that he had somewhat scored with the head of Maradona and somewhat with the hand of God. The England team didn't quite see the same when they lost the match 2-1 and Argentina went on to win the World Cup. England captain Terry Butcher later described it as the best piece of fraud you will ever see. Terry, let me tell you about Bernie Madoff, who came along a few years later. That's the best piece of fraud you'll ever see. Still, the UK had thrashed Argentina in the Falklands War just 4 years earlier without resorting to cheating, so we can console ourselves on that. Holy shit, Danny. Woo! Maradona left behind a personal souvenir on the pitch at the end of that controversial match against England, and this item raised a considerable sum when it was put up for auction many years later in 2022, only about 18 months after Maradona's death. No, it wasn't his severed hand of God, although I suspect an English soccer fan would have paid a fortune for that. It was just his jersey. In a tradition going back to 1931, soccer players are known to swap jerseys with their opponents at the end of a match, as immersing yourself in somebody else's stinky sweat is apparently a sign of respect. That sounds horrible. I'd be like, no, I'm not a germaphobe, but I'm also not mad keen on germs. Like, I'm not someone who's going to be washing their hands for 20 minutes, but I'm definitely the sort of person who goes to a door handle I don't know and uses my jacket, just like that, because look, there's no way I'm putting on someone else's clothes, like dirty clothes, after they've done sport. That's disgusting. It's a tradition which has yet to catch on in either beach volleyball or darts. In this case, Maradona exchanged shirts with legendary England midfielder Steve Hodge. I know so little about that. I've never heard of any of these people. This Maradona dude scored the goal of the century. Never heard of him. I've never heard of him either, Simon. Steve may have been tempted to set fire to the damn thing straight after the match, but instead he rather sensibly took good care of it, occasionally showing it off on television and later loaning it to the National Football Museum in Manchester. It's interesting that Steve chose to wait until Maradona had died before he decided to sell the jersey. He may well have been playing the long game. And there were a couple of controversies along the way to the auction house. The Argentine Football Association insisted that the journey didn't belong to Steve Hodges and that it should be displayed in a museum in Argentina rather than thrown into the hoard of a billionaire collector. But that's not really how jersey swapping works. You can't just ask for it back after 26 years. Yeah, I'm sorry, but no. He's allowed to do it. It's his. Meanwhile, Maradona's relatives tried to make out that the jersey was only worn in the first half of the game and that he wasn't even wearing it during the infamous God's hand goal, but this was disproved by photo matching evidence confirmed by the auction house Sotheby's. Sotheby's check there, you know. It's cool. It's got to be cool. Like, that's the sort, if I was interested in, like, I don't know, like jobs. I always think about jobs that I'd be into. Like, sometimes I watch those watch restoration videos on YouTube and I'm like, I could do that. That looks very relaxing, also slightly challenging. You're a real craftsman. I could be into that. I could also absolutely be into the person who verifies shit at auction, just like watching tapes and trying to verify it, calling people up, like becoming like a detective for, like, I don't know, rich people buying it, that sort of thing. That'd be fun. So how much was it worth? Well, Sotheby's estimated that the jersey would fetch about $4 million, but they were wrong. It was actually sold for $9.3 million to a buyer who chose to remain anonymous, but it was probably an English billionaire hoarder. You lost this one as well, Argentina. Holy shit, 9.3. It makes those guns from Face Off seem like a fucking bargain, doesn't it? It's not clear what Maradona did with Steve Hodges' jersey, but after realizing that he couldn't exchange it for even the tiniest bag of Coke, I like to... Wait. Is Maradona like... I didn't know he was into Coke. Okay. So Danny knows who he is, at least. I like to think he gave it to a charity shop or something. The sale of Maradona's jersey smashed the world record for the most money pissed away on sports clothing memorabilia, but it would only hold the title for about 4 months, because later on in 2022, somebody decided to sell Michael Jordan's jersey. God damn, that's going to be a lot. That's Michael Jordan. Like, this look, I have seen basketball. I watched one basketball game one time, but everyone knows who Michael Jordan is. You might know the former Chicago Bulls player as the global cultural icon and the greatest basketball player of all time, although surely his finest hour was working alongside Daffy Duck in the 1996 classic Space Jam. Michael has certainly helped shift a few basketball shoes in his time via his long-running collaboration with Nike, and although a pair of Air Jordans might be considered a bit pricey at the best of times, the price shoots up if Michael actually wore them himself. No fucking shit. Does it? Like, people wear Air Jordans. People don't wear Air Jordans that Michael Jordan wore. One, because they're probably too large. Michael Jordan is a big dude, right? They're probably too big for you. And also wearing them would definitely decrease the value. It's like that Whistling Diesel channel where he buys those super expensive shoes and he's like, let's see how these work as work boots. It's like, oh God. Love it. In April 2023, a pair of Bred Air Jordans worn by Michael during the 1998 NBA Finals broke his own record for game-worn sportswear when they fetched $2.2 million at auction. Wait, didn't the last one sell for like 10 mil? But that's still small fry compared to the sale of Michael Jordan's 1998 jersey, which oddly enough is more directly associated with defeat than triumph. It's true that Jordan himself scored 33 points while wearing the jersey in question, and the Chicago Bulls went on to win the 1998 NBA Finals, but they lost this particular game against the Utah Jazz, putting an end to what was a historic winning streak. Does Michael Jordan wear different shoes and different clothes during every match? I don't know. What would be the situation there? Do tennis players, do they launder their clothes or do they just wear new clothes every single... I'd kind of imagine that they wear new shit, but that seems a bit crazy, doesn't it? So, aren't there going to be like hundreds and hundreds of Michael Jordan shirts? Or does he just get it washed? I'm super curious. Now I have no idea. Let me know in the comments, peeps. That didn't seem to affect the value of the loser jersey, though, which fetched a staggering $10.1 million at Sotheby's. The Utah Jazz might have been better off forgetting about winning the game and just focusing instead on introducing Michael to the fun concept of jersey swapping. Hell yes. I'd be like, yo, Michael! Swap with me, Michael!
It became personal with me.
Wretched, miserable failure occasionally seems to do a better job of increasing the value of sporting memorabilia than glorious success. Serena Williams may be one of the greatest tennis players in history, but she naturally dropped the ball a few times over her epic career. And not being an avid follower of tennis myself, I had no idea that she could be quite a grumpy bean at times. Tennis is a sport I follow, regularly picking fights with umpires and throwing hissy fits on court. I think maybe tennis players in general can get a bit hot under the collar. You never see that kind of disrespect to officials in proper sports like snooker or horseshoe pitching. Serena is obviously, I feel like the only reason is like it looks so bad in tennis is because everyone's quiet and there's like lots of decorum in tennis, and then some player will just go off and you're like, oh shit. And they're like, point deduction, $10,000 fine. It's like, oh. Serena has obviously gone through a few tennis rackets in her time, but one in particular generated a volley of interest when it went up for auction in 2019. However, it wasn't one of her rackets she was holding when she secured one of her amazing 23 Grand Slam victories. It's one she broke in a moment of rage, for sure. No, it was a racket that she smashed to pieces in anger during a fiery defeat. Serena was playing Naomi Osaka in the 2018 US Open final, which descended into chaos when Serena spent more time clashing with the umpire than trying to get the ball back over the net. Serena was slapped with a warning when the umpire accused her of receiving coaching during the game. Serena's indignant response was to demand an apology, whilst branding the umpire a lying, thieving sexist, for which she then was docked a game for code violation. Holy shit. Not even a point, but a full game. Before Serena succumbed to a shock defeat, she had smashed her Wilson Blade racket into the grounds and pretty much destroyed it. But when she then passed the mangled master ball boy Justin Arrington Holmes, he had the good sense to hold on to it for a while. Big brain Justin right there. You hold on to that shit. You get that shit framed. You get that verified. Go to Sotheby's and be like, yo, who's the person who verifies the rich people's shit again? I want to talk to them about this racket. And Sotheby's will be like, we'll sell that to you. And Justin be like, no, you wait, Sotheby's. You wait. I'm coming back later on when the value is better. When it was put up for auction the following year, okay, you only waited a year, the smashed up racket was expected to fetch $50,000, but it fell a little short of expectations, ending up in the hands of an anonymous buyer for $20,000. Again, that seems like a bargain for Serena Williams' famous smashed up US Open final tennis racket. That seems like that's a bargain. I know 20 grand's a lot of money, but still. But that's still not bad payday for the lucky ball boy, right? Well, sadly not. Very shortly after taking the racket off Serena's hands, his parents had encouraged him to sell it for just $500 to a dealer in Manhattan, who was presumably the one who scored the ace. Oh, he did. Oh, so he made $19,500 profit. I still think it's a bargain at 20 grand. Milk it. The prices do come tumbling down quite a bit when we leave the wacky world of sport, as even a legendary musician can't quite compete with the athletic heroes who cheat at soccer and smash up their equipment in rage. Still, $6.1 million is not a bad price to fetch for an old guitar. This one in particular was a 1959 Martin D18E electric acoustic guitar, which is now the most expensive guitar of all time, and that's because it was the one played by Nirvana frontman Kurt Cobain during the band's seminal MTV Unplugged performance in 1993, just 5 months before Kurt's Kurt's death. Sold at Julian's Auctions in Los Angeles in 2020 to Australian microphone mogul Peter Friedman, it's refreshing to hear that Peter didn't just plan to hide the guitar away in his own private collection. He intends to take it on tour and donate all proceedings to the performing arts. And quite incredibly, he considers the $6.1 million price tag to be an absolute bargain. When it's the most expensive one ever, is it a bargain though? Because it's the most expensive one ever. He might be proved right if the guitar ever goes up for auction again in the distant future. Not being much of a guitar player myself, I might have been more tempted to put in a bid for the fetching green cardigan that Kurt was wearing during the same MTV performance. The mohair mix cardigan sweater doesn't come in the best condition. There's some discoloration on the pockets, a missing button, and even a burn hole, which I presume was the result of Kurt being a bit careless when he was heating up a pan of baked beans. Yes, I'm sure that was it. Even so, the cardigan was still out of my budget, selling for $334,000 at Julian's in 2019. God damn. But here's a thought. If Serena could increase the value of her memorabilia by destroying it, would the same logic apply to Kurt Cobain if he wrecked a guitar? I'm going to say yes. I think so. Well, it seems not. Oh, no. Although a useless battered guitar that once belonged to Kurt Cobain still sold for a pretty impressive amount. Kurt had a tendency to smash up his guitars now and then, but he obviously regretted destroying a black Fender Stratocaster in 1991 as he made an attempt to have it put back together again. He later scrawled slogans all over it and got the band to sign it before gifting it to buddy and fellow musician, the late Mark Lanigan from the Screaming Trees. By the time the guitar went up for auction in 2023, it was heavily scratched and chipped and was completely unplayable. But that didn't stop it from fetching a surprising $596,000, over 10 times the opening price. Perhaps the reason it didn't quite generate the same level of interest as Kurt's other guitar is nothing to do with the differing conditions, it's just that it wasn't quite as iconic and recognizable. In fact, I reckon that if Kurt had thought to smash up his acoustic guitar at the end of that MTV Unplugged performance, the wreckage might as well have gone for more than $6.1 million. But he didn't. Never mind. Territorial pissings. So, let's get on to some of the really kooky and perhaps even slightly disturbing stuff that exchanges hands for ridiculous amounts of money. Just like William Shatner's kidney stone, there are plenty of examples of celebrities auctioning very strange items, but often for very noble causes. The most infamous of these is probably the time Scarlett Johansson sold a snotty tissue for $5,300. Oh. What? Whilst appearing on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno in 2008, Scarlett was clearly suffering from the sniffles and had to pause to blow her nose. But rather than just throw the Kleenex away, she sealed it in a bag and announced her intention to put it up for auction. That wasn't just Scarlett being weird. Well, no, actually, it was a bit weird, but there was at least some reasoning behind the decision. Scarlett claimed that the tissue contains the sticky evidence of a double celebrity virus which had been passed from co-star Samuel L. Jackson to Scarlett during the recent filming of The Spirit. What? That's got to make it more valuable, right? No, I don't even want this for free. What? Well, $5,300 is a figure not to be sniffed at, and the money was donated to USA Hunger, so bless Scarlett Johansson for the thoughtful gesture. But a snotty tissue is not quite as valuable as a half-eaten slice of toast from a member of the rubbish British boy band One Direction. When the band appeared on the Australian talk show Sunrise in 2012 to promote their latest tossed off album, they were invited to try out a bit of traditional Aussie food, including a good old toast and Vegemite. Band member Niall Horan clearly didn't have the stomach for Vegemite as he discarded his slice of toast after a single bite, but the quick-thinking broadcaster decided to try and raise a bit of money for the Young Care charity by putting the rest of the toast up for auction on eBay. Bidding opened at 99 cents, but by the end of the auction, the half-chewed toast had raised $100,000. I don't know One Direction. Wait, are they the ones who sing that song in that new Top Gun soundtrack that's actually an absolute banger? I'm ready for it right now. Keep your dreams alive. Is that One Direction? It's not, is it? That's someone else. It's another one of these bands that are just like, I don't know, that I've heard of but never heard. At least these celebrities were willing participants in wholesale charity fundraisers. What the fuck is wrong with me? Poor old Britney Spears can't even throw stuff away without it being pounced on by chancers looking to make a quick buck from Britney's fame. Way back in 2004, Britney was said to have spat out a piece of chewing gum on the pavement outside the Sanderson Hotel in London, which, quite aside from anything else, should have landed her with an instant £75 litter fine. Yes, good. I hate walking around and seeing all those little sticky patches on the ground from people spitting out gum and cigarette butts as well. I'm glad it's a £75 on the spot fine, right? So the police just go up to you. So there's no debating it. I guess you could go to court and argue, but it's just an on the spot fine, £75. Thank you very much. But the gun wasn't left on the ground long enough to attract the attention of the litterbug police, as it was swiftly picked up by a slobbering fan and put up on eBay for auction. The initial listing was pulled by eBay, who felt the sellers claimed that the gum contained Britney's DNA was a violation of their human body parts and remains policy. The listing was swiftly rewritten to focus more on the teeth marks of the pop princess, which were clearly visible on the gun. Even though I'm not convinced it could ever be proven that the gum really had been spat out by Britney, the winning bid came in at $14,000. Britney's privacy was about to be invaded on a much deeper level the following year when somebody came across her discarded pregnancy test kit in the trash and decided to cash in on the funds. People are fucking weird, bro. It's believed that the test revealed good news for Britney. She was pregnant with her first child, Sean, but I guess she didn't really expect to have the evidence put up for auction after she'd thrown it in the bathroom bin. So what's the going rate for a small stick that's been peed on by a celebrity? Well, it was sold for $5,001. That might seem a bit low to some, but I guess it may have been tricky to prove its authenticity. And who bought it? Why, that was our old chums at goldenpalace.com who snapped up this particular bargain. So the next time you pop into their Museum of Oddities, you'll be able to view the pregnancy test alongside William Shatner's kidney stone. What the fuck, man? What a funny old planet we live on. Beam me up, Britney. Thanks for watching. The only precious rocks that I buy, Daddy, are crack rocks. So they're cheap, but amazing. Don't do crack.